on, if the Bears pick the right person, they will be in the Super Bowl.
They'll go 7-4. Okay, good morning, everyone. We're live and on tape.
I say it every year.
Welcome to our April 20th Commissioners meeting. Please rise. Commissioner Lennox will lead us in an invocation and the pledge.
Good morning, Lord. Thank you for this beautiful April morning that we are all able to enjoy this morning. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to wake up and enjoy your creation. Be with our military as we have tensions around the world, and keep us safe. Keep our first responders and our military safe as they ensure that this is a safe place to live. Be with us today as we act on business for Bartholomew County. And thank you again for the many blessings that you give us each and every day that we are so undeserving of. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Carl. You're welcome. First up on the agenda is the approval of minutes.
Move to approve the minutes.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Next up, we have the approval of claims.
I'd move to approve those claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Weekly reports for the week of April 13th, we had 29 new permits issued, fee amount of $2,476, value amount $1,525,057. That report is available in the Code Enforcement Office, if anyone would like to see that. Okay, we have Danny Hollander, our county engineer. Good morning, Danny.
Morning.
Got a few things for us today, don't you?
Yeah. Reviewed the bids we got last week and everything was in order.
That was the bids for hot mix, cold mix, and liquid asphalt.
Right. Hot mix, I mean, we only had one bidder, but it was okay. I mean, we had.
Milestone Contractors, we heard of them.
Well, hot mix actually counts, yeah, the asphalt plant, part of them, not the contractor, but still Milestone, I guess, yeah.
Yep. We had one bid from Milestone Contractors for the hot mix. We had no bids received for cold mix. And then we had a bid for liquid asphalt from Terry Asphalt Materials out of Hamilton, Ohio. They were the low bidder. You're comfortable with that?
Yes,
Okay.
and it was actually less than the year before, which was surprising.
Less than the year before. Good window of bid time. Okay. Commissioners, we can approve all these at one time.
I'll make a motion that we award those low bids for highway materials.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Danny, you have a proposal for long arm excavator work on Sunland Road.
Yeah, the Clifty Creek is eroding right at the toe of the slope, and nothing we have can reach down there. We're gonna have to get some big shot rock or large riprap and line that bank to keep the start and slide. And so there's a long arm excavator. It can reach out 65 feet. He can get down there and place that down there. And
All right, we have a 68-foot reach to repair slide caused by Clifty Creek. This is coming out of the highway budget. This is with Hardcore Construction out of Columbus, Indiana. 65-inch reach, $350 per hour, 2,800 moving machine. So basically load in, load out, total quote $3,500.
I'd make a motion, we go ahead and award that proposal to Hardcore Construction.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion passes. Next up, you have a ratification of expenditure for the highway. I was curious about this one because it's.
Yeah, this is what we put on 800 South, where we put that flowable fill under where that road had, he rode it underneath.
So in Azalea, near the bridge, the road during the last flood.
Right, the water went over the road and it whirled and basically the road was still fine, but there was nothing underneath it. It took all the dirt out from underneath.
How did the road not fall in?
Well, there's concrete pavement there for
Yeah.
that section. So it was just, concrete was acting like a little bridge there with nothing underneath it. But, the only way we could get it underneath there and could compact it anyway underneath. So we got the flowable fill and it basically got it up to road level and it hards up. So it's, well, we get
So you
some
had that.
solid underneath it.
You had that and then you had some, crack sealant.
Yeah, that was, where he'd rented the machine earlier and we just needed some more material. So we got some more material.
Tony, I'll make a motion that we ratify those two expenses, one for $14,147.25 to Craft Co. And the other to IMI Indiana for flowable fill, $6,698.20.
Second, Tony.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed, motion passes.
You know, Danny, it is amazing when you work with roads, you see how much damage water can do.
Yeah.
When water goes over a road like that, that it will leak back under the edge, whether it's the suction and the water just keeps going the opposite way that you think it would.
Yeah,
You would think that the water would just get off the road and
keep going.
not do any
It
damage. But
whirls.
part of it's the suction and part of it's the movement of the water, but
Right,
you see it in creeks and rivers where it'll eat back behind, you know, a little waterfall will eat back.
yeah, head cut back underneath or
Yeah.
an eddy or early road. Yeah,
The famous one is the Last of the Mohicans movie. Those of you that have seen it, they get back in behind that waterfall and it's all eaten out back in there. And it's kind of the same principle.
Danny, do you have anything else for us today?
well, I just thought, I forgot a crew report.
I was gonna bring it up, but I didn't wanna.
Dwight's off this week, so he didn't give it to me this morning and I forgot all about it. So,
We will live.
uh,
We will live without it.
And double up next week,
all right,
okay?
all right.
Thank you. Have a good week. Looks like it's gonna be a good week. No rain till Friday, so
Yeah.
Need rain.
we need rain.
Some water, don't we?
Need rain.
Next up, we have our Parks Director, Rich Day, to talk about a project at Heflin Park.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Rich.
Morning, Rich.
And today you are joined by Connor Hickey from DLZ Engineering. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Welcome, Connor.
Thank you.
Rich, what's going on?
Connor's gonna talk to you about the bid proposals for Heflin Lift Station that we've been trying to get done for a while.
Mhm.
And he's gonna go over that so we can get that started.
Okay,
Yeah, so what we're requesting today is authorization to bid the sanitary improvements Rich talked about. Right now, the park has a septic system, but they've got some direction to either work some improvements in or what we're proposing.
could you speak up a little bit? We have
Sorry.
microphones aren't picking you up there.
Sorry. Yeah, we are bringing forward authorization to bid for the sanitary improvements to the county park. We're proposing to disconnect the septic system and install a low pressure, basically grinder station and force main. And that'll relieve the issues they're having there with the septic system at the park, and it'll discharge into the Driftwood Utilities collection system.
So we're going from a septic at Heflin to hooking up with Driftwood Utilities, public utility.
Where will that connection be made? Up on top of the hill?
It's gonna go to, you know where the shed is by
Oh,
Tanny
yeah,
Hill?
that
It
maintenance.
sits behind, right behind that.
So they did take the main back down over the hill from
Yes.
the park there,
Yep.
or from the mobile home park.
Mhm.
Okay.
So this has been, as you said, it's been something we've been working on for a while. The state said our system was inadequate for the number of campers, campsites. And, we looked at just expanding the septic and that really wasn't a truly long-term solution.
Correct.
And,
And the septic was not put in correctly in the seventies.
okay, all right.
I'd
And
make
so-
a motion, we go ahead and give notice to bidders for this project up there in Heflin Park.
I will second.
So today we're giving notice to bidders. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion passes. This notice to bidders will be advertised Wednesday, April 22nd and Wednesday, April 29th. The pre-bid meeting, is the pre-bid meeting required?
It's optional.
It's optional. Thursday, April 30th, and the bids will be opened here Monday, May 11th, 2026.
Rich, although we're advertising it twice, you might reach out to, there's 4 or 5 local people that could do this.
Agreed.
Why don't you reach out to them?
I will.
Make them
'Cause they can easily miss it.
Yep.
Did we vote?
Uh,
Huh?
we did.
That's what I thought. So we had a motion and a second.
I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Rich.
Yep, thank you. I'm up again.
Rich is
Ah.
up again.
Yes.
All right. Next up, you have a proposal for one dump trailer.
Rich, what have you done with the park board? They have been awfully good to you on getting new equipment.
Well, we've suffered a long time.
You have suffered a long time.
We've done a lot with a little bit, so it's helping a lot. It's helping a lot. So the reason we're going with a dump trailer is when we were talking about the trucks, and that's why the last
A
year's.
new dump trailer.
A new dump trailer, yes.
And for years, for decades, we would buy even used stuff, the
Yes, sir.
hand-me-downs.
Yes, sir. This particular trailer is one of the safest ones out there. I did not want a telescoping dump trailer. This is a scissor lift, so it's got 2 arms, and it was hard to find them, but I found one. Maze had one. And I found a couple other bids online, so, we would like to do that. So that's why we got the, goosenecks on the trucks. So now we can haul the skidster to a place and do whatever we need to do.
Okay, all right. You got 3 bids.
Yes, sir.
Spencer Trailers out of Spencer, Indiana, $26,600. Avalon Service Center out of Rickardsville, Iowa for $20,360. Mays Trailer Sales, Whiteland, Indiana, $18,388.
Yep.
I'd make a motion, we go ahead and accept that proposal from Mays, 18,388.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
Rich,
Thank you,
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Rich.
thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys.
Okay, next up, we have someone from the jail. I believe we have Bobby Shake.
Yes, sir.
Bobby, are you on there?
I am.
This is a consideration of a planned maintenance renewal agreement with Cummins for the emergency generator at the jail. Why don't you walk us through this?
We do this, I believe, every so many years, and it is just the maintenance agreement that we have with Cummins to service the emergency generator within the jail. Each year they come out, they take a look at it, and then they send us the invoice in accordance with their maintenance agreement.
So this is with Cummins. It is a 3-year renewal agreement for the maintenance of the backup generator. Very important. This will be paid out of jail funds. The last 3-year agreement was signed in 2023. This is a full service with 4-hour load bank, 3 years, 55, 15, 31 each year. So the 3 years, $17,042.31, and the inspections, a total of $2,081.43. The total 3-year agreement, $19,123.74.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we enter into that agreement for annual maintenance for the generator at the county jail.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Bobby, thank you. Don't let that generator go down.
Thank you.
And next up, also with the sheriff's office, we have Lieutenant Dane Duke with us today. Morning, Dane.
Morning.
You have a couple grants that you're applying for?
Correct. These are the same ones that we applied for and got last year. Both were through REMC and Centerpoint Gas.
Mhm.
So again, we got these last year. They're simple.
Has that been an entire year?
Yes.
Seems like it's
Wild.
3 or 4 months.
And they're just website-based grants, community service grants. They were great to work with last year, so I'm requesting authorization.
And these are for things that we need to have that we wish we didn't need to have. These are for water rescue equipment.
Correct.
We have a grant application for the sheriff's office through Centerpoint Energy for $2,470 to purchase water rescue equipment. And we have a grant of $1,232 through REMC Operation Roundup Grant Program, also to be used for water rescue equipment.
Correct.
This is to allow the sheriff's office to apply for these grants.
Correct.
Carl?
I'd make a motion, we go ahead and give the sheriff's office authorization for these 2 grant applications.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Thank you. I hope you get this stuff and never use it.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Dane.
Yes, sir.
Next up, we have our County Assessor Jenny Whipple, consideration of a contractor agreement for appraisal services for the Bartholomew County Assessor's Office. Jenny, good morning.
Morning,
Good
Jenny.
morning, gentlemen.
I haven't seen you in a while.
Well, been busy.
Yeah, I know you have. I know
Busy
you
time of
have.
year.
It's the time of year. Why don't you
Yes.
tell us what's going on here?
I have 2 appraisal requests. These are for appeals that have been filed for the 25-26 tax year. One is an apartment complex and the other 2 is for 3 of the 4 pharmacies, CVS's, Walgreens in the county. And the one for the Walgreens is in 2 phases. The first phase is that they will give me a value, a verbal value. And that lets me know, am I in the ballpark with my assessments? If I need to proceed further, then they'll give me a second written report for that. That's on the Walgreens.
So
The,
these, I'm sorry to interrupt, but these are property owners that have appealed the assessed valuation.
actually tax representatives who have appealed for property
Okay,
owners.
understood.
Jenny, did I hear you say, are there 3 Walgreens? Is that what you said?
No, there's 2
Okay.
CVS's and a Walgreens.
Oh, okay, all right.
Now, that brings up my next question. What is it about pharmacies that would specifically, is there a different sort of setup for pharmacies?
Or,
No,
yeah,
they
different
just, this particular
schedule.
company thinks I have mine valued too high.
Oh,
They think because we're not Indianapolis, that our values should be considerably less.
oh,
And I disagree. I think our market for these particular properties are right up there with anybody's.
okay.
And so I'm gonna defend my values.
So they've pressed it, and now that you have to have these properties professionally appraised.
I wouldn't say I have to have. If I want to win at the state,
Uh-huh.
at the Indiana Board of Tax Review, then I need an appraisal, yes.
Gotcha, okay.
So if the
Jenny,
appraisal comes back
Tony.
that my value is high, then I'll negotiate. And if it's not, then.
Jenny, how does the PETA BOA board enter into this?
They denied these. They were heard first at the Property
Okay.
Tax Assessment Board of
They
Appeals, the
denied
local
the
board.
request
And
for
they
appeal
denied,
or
and
for
then
reduction.
these were then filed on at the state level.
Okay,
And and to be able to win at the state level, I have to have an appraisal. I mean, it's not in the law, but that's what the case law has proven.
Okay.
That I might as well not even go if I don't have an appraisal.
well, you know, there's 2 sides to your job. And it's a very difficult job. But you've got revenue is part of your job. Generating revenue from property,
I establish value,
establish value, okay.
the tax rate.
The state
produces
creates
the-
a rate.
Yeah, I have nothing
But
to
you've
do
got
with
the
the money.
commercial side and then you've got the residential side. So all of us in this room kind of like you going after commercials, right?
I wouldn't go that far.
I want all taxpayers to be equitably assessed.
There you go, there you
You know,
go.
that's the goal,
All
you
right.
know, and it's a fact of life that occasionally some are not. You know, I do what's called mass appraisal, which means that I set values from information from a few, values for all, from sales and information from a few. And I use medians when I do that, middle of the roads. So what that means is that some will be assessed too high, some too low. Most will be right in the middle where they should be. The low ones, the neighbors tell me about. The high ones are what the appeal process is for. And some appeals, I find I made a mistake, or there's information out there that I didn't have when I set that value. So the taxpayer can give me that information, I can correct that value. We saw probably 1,000 people in our office last year. We had 181 appeals. So we were able to talk and educate the public about what we do and show them why or how our values were determined and from what sales. And they saw their values were fair and equitable.
Now, the commissioners are not in the line of
Appraisal business.
process
No.
for property taxes and how they're generated or
No.
valued.
County council that sets the tax rate.
Council, assessor,
Right.
but you can imagine,
Oh,
not a lot of people really care.
you get lots of calls.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sure.
get a lot of calls about property taxes. And my standard answer when someone calls and says my assessed valuation is ridiculous. My question is, would you sell it for that? Well, no. Then I'd probably not make a big fuss over it.
Unfortunately, the economy over the last 5 years has just shot through the roof.
And none of us
No,
get granted relief from that.
no. And as assessors, we do our job really well, which means that people's assessments are going to follow those sale prices.
Right.
And that's hard.
Right.
And then when the council gets ready to set values and the needs, they do their job very well of trying to keep that need low. So our rate over the past several years has gone down. This year it went up, ticked up a few cents, but it stayed low. How this Senate Bill 1, Senate Enrolled Act 1 is going to affect us as we come down the road is a whole different ballgame.
Isn't it interesting? We are a year out from Senate Enrolled Act 1, and nobody still knows how it's going to affect us.
Not in the end, they don't know.
Yeah. And my guess is that by the time a lot of these things are ready to click into action, it'll have been changed.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, you have two agreements with Don R. Scheit, Gateway Apartments, $4,650, and the 3 pharmacy properties, $6,000 for phase 1, $3,600 for phase 2.
Tony, I will make a motion that we approve these contractor agreements for appraisal services as you just stated.
Second.
Thank you. And I would like to thank you for the discussion today.
Oh,
Hopefully Riley's quickly writing back there, and hopefully that this will help educate all of us a little bit better about how property taxes are generated and figured out. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. These will, by the way, these will be paid out of the reassessment
yes,
fund?
yes,
All right.
yes. Thank you. And I would like to say that Form 11s are going out the last day of the month.
Mhm.
That is the notice of value for what you will pay taxes on next year.
Mhm.
I would hope that all taxpayers would scrutinize those and call my office if they have any problem with them or any idea that they're not at market value for their home
Mhm.
or slightly under. So,
Okay.
thank you
All
much.
right. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny.
Okay, next up, very interesting discussion. We have Jake Fitzsimmons, our surveyor. Welcome, come on up, Jake, and Isabella Foster with the DNR. And Jake approached us a couple weeks ago about a proposed Flat Rock River watershed. And it was an interesting discussion. And so today we want to hear more about this. Jake and Isabella from the DNR is the discussion about this new watershed, if passed, would be for lack of a better word, a new tax on our citizens. So we're all ears. Good morning, Jake. Perhaps, Jake, you could start the discussion about
Okay.
how you were approached.
Yeah, so the Watershed Development Commission is this idea for the White River, I believe it's the Flat Rock Haw. So this is the Flat Rock watershed on the Haw Creek watershed. And this basically starts in, she has a pointer up here. It basically starts up in Henry County, northeast of Newcastle, and then terminates here in Bartholomew County. This will go through 5 counties, if I remember right. We are at the very tail end of that, obviously, but it's essentially a legal drain, for the lack of better terms, but on a grander scale. Instead of everything set forth is by the DNR, not necessarily by the commissioners itself, as far as the parameters of how all the taxes work and what can happen from there. Upstream, the river is obviously a little bit more narrow, more of a creek, if you will. And so they do have a lot more issues with flood control, debris, bank stabilization, that type of thing.
And
As
when
we
you
get
say upstream, you mean way upstream?
way upstream as we get into Henry and Rush counties,
Right.
correct? When you get further downstream, Shelby County and Bartholomew County, it is more of a river at that point. But
You-
we
you
are
would
still
think, Jake,
within that watershed.
when we all looked at that a
Yeah.
few weeks ago, I thought it was interesting that the Flat Rock, a river of that size,
Yeah,
only 80 miles away. I don't know how far it is from here to Richmond, probably about that.
I don't remember. Do you know about how far?
Anyway,
45, 50 miles?
okay,
Yeah.
50, 60 miles away, it's almost nothing.
How tiny it is, yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
but
still
yet it-
considered river all the way
Yeah,
up
but yet it
to
gets that
a
large.
field ditch, yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
It was interesting.
So, those other county surveyors, further upstream had approached everybody within that watershed and said, hey, DNR goes through this, they have a process, they have a full-time employee that presents this stuff. And, obviously us being part of that watershed, we're part of the conversation, said it's worth at least listening to, right? And after that presentation, I kind of looked at some of the numbers, how it would affect our properties, our tax assessed value here, and thought that it would be better to have a public discussion presented from the DNR themselves. So you guys can make the decision from there.
Okay. All right, Isabella?
Yeah.
I'll turn it over to you and explain what it is we're talking about.
For sure. If you could head back one slide for me, that'd be great. So just to give you an idea of how this came to be, in 1980, the first River Basin Commission was established for the Little Cal. It's our yellow river basin up there. There are 5 river basins that were created over the past 30, 40 some years. They're all in the northern part of the state. 2 of those have transformed into watershed development commissions, so they have taxing authority, the Little Cal and the Kankakee. We have 1 watershed development commission that was established. It's down in Evansville. It's Vanderburgh County. They're the only member of that watershed development commission. They're about 1.5 years old and they're finding their way forward right now. Next slide, please. So this was passed in 2023 because the state legislators kind of got annoyed with having to rewrite a new law for each specific river basin. So they basically wrote this as a way to have a process already established. It gives taxing authority to these commissions, and it basically gets rid of what they have to do every year when someone wants one. So they have to be established at the Huck 8 scale, which is what that map was. And so it has to include all the counties that are in that watershed. You can't overlap with an existing river basin commissions, and it is basically run and created by local officials. So your surveyors and your commissioners actually have to pass an ordinance to get it to the Natural Resources Commission where we come in. Otherwise, it is your surveyor who is actually serving on the board. Next slide, please. And so some of the purposes that you guys can address, which you were talking about earlier, having stuff run away, roads getting washed out, things like that, like you've seen these issues. So you could do flood damage reduction, improve your drainage throughout the counties and through the watershed as a whole, stormwater management, even some recreation.
You can't do water infrastructure. You obviously have utilities for that. And you can set voluntary water quality improvements within the river and within the watershed to reduce runoff and nutrients and things like that. Next slide. And so some of these examples where you could use the funding that you raise is through studies. You can have stream gauges. You can improve your flood storage so that if a flood does come by, you're more prepared. You have places for the water to actually hold instead of flooding out of the riverbanks. You can maintain any levees or berms or dams that you have, and obviously any logjam removal needs or bank stabilization and other things of that nature. And so to form one, which is kind of what you guys are wondering about, to establish it, a county has to have at least 10% of the watershed in that county to actually bring forth an ordinance. Counties that have less than 10% can actually join later on, once it's already been established. But the county commissioners have to submit an ordinance that basically meets the statutory requirements, and it goes to the NRC, who delegates it out to the DNR, who then performs a technical review to make sure you're meeting everything that's in the statute. And then we give a recommendation on whether or not to establish this commission.
And that ordinance would be the same in every single county?
Yes.
So the commissioners in Bartholomew would pass the same ordinance that's passed in Shelby, that's passed in Decatur,
Yes.
Rush.
And we gave you an example of the Evansville ordinance. So you have to outline what's in, what HUC you're in, what purposes, what needs you guys have. Hydrologic unit code.
That's what I thought it was, but I don't want to embarrass you.
I knew that, Tony.
Hydrologic unit code. It's from the USGS.
Okay.
But HUD 8 is usually the size that's big enough and small enough where counties and other local officials can manage cohesively instead of it being too big or too small. And so any type of previous work that has been previously completed in any of these counties for stream bank stabilization or any of the address purposes that you need could be submitted as evidence for the need of this board. And then you need to kind of have a sample budget plan on like what you want to address, what could be addressed, and letters of support from the community or other officials never hurt. And then this is specifically what needs to be in your ordinance. We suggest, specifically because Decatur is interested in joining as well, that you should include a section in your ordinance that says any member who has less than 10% who wants to join at a later date can, instead of having to rewrite another ordinance at a later date for them to be admitted membership into this commission. But otherwise, you just need to identify the watershed, the water outlet, the boundaries in and out of the county, your purposes and how you're going to address that through the membership. And then continuing on, next slide. They are funded through a special assessment. So yes, it is, for lack of a better words, another tax, but it is statutorily defined. There are maximums. If you want to charge less than that, you can, but it has to be across the board as a percentage reduction. So if you only wanted to charge 80%, you could. And it's per parcel. So that's how they break it up.
And that's throughout the entire watershed.
The
not
entire
specific by
watershed.
county.
Yep. And instead
All
of,
counties have to agree on the.
On the same
Yep.
assessment.
And instead of doing that, you guys as a legal entity can obviously receive grants and things of that nature, or you could ask direct support from the counties up to what should be 90% of what you would have collected otherwise with an assessment. So if you go to the next slide, it'll show the amounts for the assessment. Now, these are the maximums. If you wanted to charge less, you could, but it has to be a percentage across the board. So residential, it's per parcel. Ag, it has your acres, and everything else. And I have an example for you on the next slide, showing that if you only wanted to charge 80%, you do someone who has a house would only pay $5.60 a year. Any questions so far?
Several.
Okay, go for it.
Who started this?
Are you talking legislators? and
No,
things of
I'm
that?
starting. Who asked to begin this process?
For this specific watershed?
Yes.
Okay. Rush County?
Yes.
Henry County?
Rush County and Henry County,
Yes.
the start of the Flat Rock
Yes.
River.
Henry is where it starts, but yeah, those are the two most affected counties, and those were the two that had the biggest conversation, the biggest need.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is the need?
Their need is whenever they have bank stabilization issues, flooding issues because of tree debris, just the cleaning process of that water channel itself. It's causing flooding, whether it's within the subdivision communities. I think Rush might have some issues in town.
Mhm.
And then Henry sees them as more of an ag flooding issue.
Do we have any issues like that at the Flat Rock area?
I would say no. There's some bank stabilization stuff that you see.
There always are issues.
There's always an
Any-
issue with
any
that whenever you get into
drainage.
the larger rivers,
Right.
Especially along the tilled fields. We do end up with some tree debris, but as we see with a larger, wider, water basin like this, it's not as much of an issue or need for us.
And by the way, Larry, Carl, if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in.
Yeah, we also have 3 more slides for you and then we'll wrap it up.
Oh, okay, go ahead. All right.
Okay. Just wanted to stop you right there on funding, just in
Okay,
case, 'cause that's a
okay.
hot topic. But governance, this is gonna show you exactly who's on your board. There's gonna be 1 DNR designatee, and then there's basically 3 people serving your county. You're gonna have your surveyor, a county representative, and then an individual representative of the second-class city. And then, once this board is established, the rule is you have to appoint an executive director whose full-time job is gonna be running this commission. That is a must. And then 1 more for you. Next slide. Yes, powers. So obviously you can accomplish work that is gonna address the needs and the purposes for what you're established for. I mentioned earlier, you can set voluntary water quality goals. You can't really enforce these, but if you guys wanna try to reduce your nutrient runoff and your groundwater contamination, that's always a plus. We're always gonna encourage that. You can participate in flooding control programs, you can have land easements, and you have, the 75 feet from the top of each bank, you have exclusive authority to do work within that area. And then 1 more, this is gonna be my last slide for you guys. This is showing the exact HUC, who's in it. It shows Decatur and Fayette have just that little sliver of land in there. Otherwise, we did a really rough estimate on how much you guys could collect per year, using the max amounts for the special assessment. And this is not getting rid of any drains that are already assessed and it does not include state or locally assessed land. But that's a rough estimate of what you guys could get per
At the
year.
full rate.
At full
At the
rate.
full rate. And from my rough estimate, same thing, not removing any of our legal drains that are already assessed. We are about 250,000 of that 1 million.
Didn't I read somewhere in the literature that I've looked at? If you own a farm, let's just say 100-acre farm, and you're already paying into an existing drain, doesn't that exempt you from paying into this? Or is it added on to your?
You are not allowed to be double taxed if I recall, and that's
That's where
where,
we get in the gray area.
yeah, there would be some areas that would have to be clipped out because you already are assessed on another drain.
Because that's a heavy drain area, period.
Yeah, up through there on our part of the county, that's where most of our
Everybody that
drains
has
are.
land up in there is paying in
Mhm.
some drain.
Yeah. The biggest driver of what our rate would be, our collection rate would be, is our residential. The Hawk Creek is part of this watershed, and we know that goes through Columbus, the city of Columbus. And then, that portion of the watershed that comes down on the west side of Columbus here, same thing. That's, almost 2/3 of this, I'll consider it the downtown area, from here up through Parkside area. I'd say almost 2/3 of all of that is within this watershed. And so that's where I think a lot of that revenue generation comes from, is those residential lots that are
City of
not within a
Columbus.
tax, yes, within the city. of
The
Columbus.
city of Columbus has an outlier number of people that would be affected.
Yes.
Not necessarily all across Bartholomew County. I saw on the map where my property is actually south of it and would not be
affected.
without part of the watershed.
Mhm.
According to this definition, the Flat Rock and Hall terminate before it gets near my property. I think yours might be in the same situation. In my view, which is very limited by the information, small amount of information that was given, it would seem that Bartholomew County would provide a large amount of the money that would go into this pot and probably receive a very small amount of that money.
Mhm.
It seems like most of the needs are in Henry and Rush counties, and that most of the expense would come in those counties. So that $1 million, slightly above $1 million, would, an outsized portion of that would come from Bartholomew County, and the outgoing money would be very small. And of course, the governing body of this watershed would be made up equally of all the participating counties.
We
And-
would get one more additional person because of the city of Columbus. I believe in this entire watershed, that's the only city that's classified as, it's a second class, which is a
Yeah,
37,000 or above.
So even with that additional
Yeah,
seat,
we would
be
have
a
additional
minority,
seat, but not
we
necessarily.
would be a minority owner.
We would be,
So we'd be putting the most money in and having the least amount of say in how it's spent.
yes.
So,
Well, Tony, you know, I don't mean for you to carry the whole burden. You tend to talk your way into trouble.
I'm good at that.
And I think Carl and I both recognize that, but we've talked about this, and legal drains are really important. Citizens hate being taxed. Yet we all want our properties to drain properly or as good as they possibly can. But just piggybacking on what you're saying, I have no interest in creating this drain and taxing our citizens more, many of which in that area are paying into 1, 2, even 3 different legal drains, depending on where their properties lie. I agree with your statements. I think we would be kind of last. It would be a board of commission members that would make the decisions. Our problems, a lot of our problems in that watershed take care of themselves. That river's been there a long, long time, and it will be there yet a long, long time into the future. So I'm just not interested in taxing our citizens in that part of the county. That covers about half of German Township, all of Flat Rock, half or 2/3 of Haw Creek, and a little bit of Clifty, and then Columbus, where you get all the residential properties that would have to pay. So at this point, I'm out.
A lot of those townships you mentioned, like you said, are under legal assessment, particularly in
Already.
Flat Rock and Hawk Creek.
Yeah.
We've got some in Columbus, but those are mostly on ag lands. We've got some residential properties that are getting legal assessments, but this proposal will get a bunch of residential assessments here in Columbus. So, yeah, it's a tough thing to call, but I think that the benefits that Bartholomew County would get compared to its contribution would be lacking. So hate to be the wet blanket, but I think that's probably where Bartholomew County stands.
Feel like I'm on Shark Tank.
And I was thinking that.
I'd like to open it up for anyone in the audience that might have
There's
a.
only one of us at this table that has the kind of money that participants have.
Danny,
MS4 communities and stormwater utilities, does that have any effect on any of that or at all, or?
could you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah.
I am Christy Johnson. I'm with DNR Division of Water as well. I'm Bella's manager.
Okay,
And I also serve on the Pigeon Creek Watershed Development Commission Board.
okay.
And so, first off, just because this wasn't mentioned yet, if this goes through the Flat Rock Watershed Development Commission, like through the other counties, I do want to let you know that your county can join as a member at a later time if they choose to.
Okay.
Second, for the assessments, at least we'll let you know, like with Pigeon Creek, with that. So Vanderburgh County is the only county there, but they are urban with Evansville. So they've decided that for any parcels that are already paying to legal drains and MS4 communities as well, that they're not going to tax those parcels. So it reduced, the amount that the commission's getting by quite a bit, but it's because in their viewpoint, that they're already getting taxed for the same type of services. So we're not going to do that for those parcels.
Did you mention the MS4? Is that what you were talking about there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So if they pay the stormwater utility, they won't pay into this.
No. And one thing I want to say, like, I understand having the counties have to kind of weigh what their choices and options are. I was just here to present information.
No, absolutely.
But the hard part about these is that it's a geographic boundary, not a county boundary. And so everyone in the watershed will benefit from what happens, no matter where the location is, because upstream, downstream, whatever happens, it'll be an improvement across the board for everyone. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay. Does anyone else have some? Danny?
Lowhead dams,
Yeah.
removing those, is that part of what they will do, or is that?
Maintain, they could, yeah, they could do what they wanted, yeah.
Because I know we, at one time, city was looking, in lieu of fees, we pay DNR, they were using those to remove lowhead dams.
Yeah,
but,
removing low head dams is a
It
great
didn't
thing.
score high enough apparently on whatever scoring system they had, so it didn't happen, but I didn't know if.
Yep, it can be used for that and other similar infrastructure like bridge replacement.
You replace a bridge?
If it's
Oh, that's
They told me to take that out.
flooding issues, so like probably, if there's typically probably like with the box culverts and stuff, or it's not for like, the bridge is getting old and stuff
Okay.
and get repaired.
My
But
guess is the bridges in our county wouldn't fall into that.
He got so
Say, I got one in mind,
Right,
right?
I know.
You got
They all, so did they.
they regularly should be causing an issue with flooding or something
Yeah.
like that.
Jenny Whipple, you had a question, please.
Is this a per parcel tax or does it have anything per parcel and is it outside of the tax rate?
What do you, so those are the maximums amount that you could collect,
I
$7
think
a
it is,
residential.
Jen.
Yeah, it would be.
I think the answer is
Be
yes.
Outside of the tax
Yeah.
rate, so.
Yeah, it has its own set.
Based on its classification, and then obviously it's,
It would be
The
like a
dollar an
legal
acre.
drain.
Mhm.
yeah,
Separate assessment.
for ag. That's maximum.
So it's not.
And I
It's-
can't
it's
see
not a-
the.
Oh,
It's okay,
okay.
it's not per
Yeah.
parcel, and then
Some are by parcel.
residential is $7 per
Per parcel,
residential,
yeah.
depending on what its assessed classification is. Commercial has its own values as well.
Anyone else have anything to ask about it? It's an interesting discussion.
Yeah.
It's not an action item today. This is strictly a
Yeah.
discussion.
Well,
And I
at the-
think the nice thing about being in Bartholomew County is, since we are at the end of it, if we choose not to do it, it does give it a nice clean break. Right, it's not like we're a hole in the other counties.
Well, Jake, we appreciate you working on this, and we're fortunate to have you in that office.
Thank you.
We've been fortunate, and I have some good friends in some adjacent counties that have had issues with surveying in the surveyor's office, and we've always had great representation up there, and it's a quiet office, but it really affects all of us.
Yeah.
And thank you for being responsible. I'm here for another few years, so when I'm done, you come back and whoever the new guys are, they may want to do it, but I'm out.
Okay.
I would like to add one thing, and remind everyone in the audience, and particularly the press, that after our 08 flood, having served ever since the beginning of my tenure here on the county drainage board. We have a joint drainage board with Shelby County. And then Bartholomew County has a joint drainage board with Jackson. A couple of legal drains here to south end. They're really called ditches. So it's not White River, it's other drainage areas. And so after the 08 flood, there was lots of pressure that we should do something with Hawk Creek. A small part of Hawk Creek is legal, just above the Ray Marr farm on Marr Road. Ray Marr's farm is not a legal drain. And from there to where it empties below Columbus here is not legal. We had a meeting at North High School after the 08 flood with some direction that we ought to make Hawk Creek a legal drain all the way through the city of Columbus to where it empties. You can imagine how popular that meeting was.
I was in the audience throwing tomatoes with everyone else, Carl,
So there was 4 of us on stage.
and it was packed.
There was about 600 or 700 people. It was
That's a
actually
lot
in
for
the
a public-
auditorium,
Yes.
okay? And among the biggest opponents were, of course, residents of Columbus that weren't impacted by the 08 flood. And then do you think Shelby County wanted to be assessed to make and clean up Hawk Creek through Columbus? Of course not. So there is another case somewhat similar to what we're discussing here today. And it ended up, we didn't get tomatoes thrown at us, but we chose at the end of that 2-hour meeting to not make action, take action. So it's not a new issue.
Interesting.
But thank you, Isabella.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
Tony, do we need a motion?
I don't think so. It was just,
Okay.
it was just a
All right.
discussion. There's no action
All
item
right.
here. But we do appreciate you coming, both of you. Christy
Yep,
and Isabella, thank you so much.
not a problem.
Jake, thanks for bringing this to our attention. Very good discussion today. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
all.
I'm sure we'll hear more about it down the road. Okay, next up, we have Clerk's Monthly Report for March. Commissioner Kleinhens has that.
Tony, I have that, signed April 13th by our county clerk, Sherry Lentz. Everything looks in order. I'll move that we accept that into our minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion passes. Next up, we have the Treasurer's Monthly Report for February 2026.
And I have that one in front of me and it looks in order as well, Tony. And I'd make a motion, we go ahead and accept the February Treasurer's Report from Barb Hackman, our county treasurer.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, those opposed, motion passes. That ends our advertised agenda. Under miscellaneous, we have our auditor, P.O. O'Connor, to make a American Rescue Plan report.
Thank you. So with the end of the first quarter of 2026 is the end of March. I come before you to present the American Rescue Plan report that I need to file with the United States Department of the Treasury. And I need to do that before the end of April. We have not spent any money out of the American Rescue Plan since the end of 24. We still have $4 million in that account that is reserved for broadband. So I will submit that report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you so much. I don't think that requires a motion. Or do we need to?
I'll move that we accept the report presented by the auditor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you.
I will say, with regard to that, the fiber project has been not as successful as we wanted it to. I would say that, roughly 50, maybe higher percent of Bartholomew County has received high-speed internet since this project started at no cost to the taxpayers of Bartholomew County. We had hoped for a much higher number than that, and that number will continue to go up. But with regard to the ARP funds that the auditor's report today spoke about, the deadline for the use of that, it has to be spent by the end of this year. I can tell you that I'm in talks. I've started a conversation with Congressman Shreve's office about the potential of getting that extended. So I have no way of knowing if that will be successful or not, but I thought it was certainly worth a conversation and to see if we can extend that and see if we can still find a use for that $4 million. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully, I'll report back on that at a later date to see if we had any action with that at all. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be Monday, April 27th, right here in this particular room. Is there anyone that would like to share anything else with the commissioners today? No, seeing nothing, we are adjourned.